Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again for the PL Projects webinar series about Microsoft Project. This video is video 2 of the webinar series. I am joined by a different colleague today who is going to go over the basics of Microsoft Project. This video is building on from the last conversation I had with my colleague Harry Dillon about the benefits of Microsoft Project. So today we have Nathan Spooner joining us. Nathan is a graduate of Leeds Beckett University. He is finishing his degree in project management. He completed a placement for us last year. He was heavily involved in using Microsoft Project, so we have somebody who's very knowledgeable on the software leading this discussion today. While he was on his placement, he was involved in implementing a project online system for a retail client of ours based in Bradford. And currently, he's supporting different clients' sites by maintaining and creating complex plans on Microsoft Project. Nathan, how are you? Thank you so much for coming and presenting today about the basics of Microsoft Project.
Well, thank you, Marina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I am just a pleasure to be around, Nathan. I don't really know what to say. I'm just going to make you presenter because we're going to be looking at your software to show everyone the different basics of specifically, we're going to be talking about how to set up for a plan, aren't we?
Yes, and this is just obviously a very basic overview based on the knowledge I've gained over the last year, 2 years or so.
Mm.
So, jumping straight in, this is the open screen you should be presented with as soon as you open up a blank install of Microsoft Project. As you can see at the top, we've got different tabs or headings of task, resource, report, project, view, format. And these will be discovered in a later episode. But so far, we're just going to jump in and type in some random things, such as task A, task B, and task C. As we can see here, we've got a little pin, and this is little indicators to represent this is a manually scheduled task. And we've got two options when choosing the task mode, manually or auto-scheduled. So manually scheduled, it enables you to enter specific durations and dates or specify them as to your requirements. Whereas auto-scheduled calculates the projects based upon your dependencies, and it will put an automatic duration of 1 day in, as can be seen by changing that now. So it puts in your duration start and finish. And obviously each project is unique, so we might need to change this for an individual task line, such as how I've just done, or we might need to do this for the whole project, in which case we'll have to go to File, to Options, and this little tab will come up. And this is one of many little changes which we'll need to make. So if we go down to Scheduling and then click on New Task Created, we'll be able to change it to Auto-Scheduled. So this means now that every task which you create or insert into the project plan will be auto-scheduled. In addition to this
Sorry, Nathan. So does that just save you time more than
Yes, so it
anything?
just saves time. So now every time it will set it up in this one duration question mark, and it'll put the start date and finish date.
Mm.
And then as soon as you start putting in predecessors, successors, it will calculate it accordingly. So if you said you had 3 tasks, which were 1 day each, going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you put a predecessor task in, which was auto-scheduled, for the 4th task, it will automatically put it into the Thursday or Friday. I can't quite remember what I've just said.
Gotcha.
So it just automatically puts it in. So you're not messing about with the dates and each time trying to work out what, if I put that in for the Wednesday, what day does that next one need to be starting at? It just makes the whole process quicker and easier.
Okay, perfect.
I
That's a
hope that
good
answers
tip.
your question,
Yeah, that's a
Marina.
good tip to tell people so it can save them time instead of manually implementing.
Hey, so yeah, so just let's keep on this idea of these settings so far. So in addition, so the usual working day is obviously 8 till 5 with an hour off. However, your organisation may be working differently. So if we did a half 8 till 5 with half an hour off, we just have to change the settings accordingly to your organisation so it did represent true working time. This is quite a key importance really when we're looking at percentage of work complete rather than the percentage complete, which I'm sure my colleague Joe will follow up in the future session. Carrying on, when we're looking at scheduling again, as you guys will probably be aware, there is two key options. We've got smoothing, which enables your duration to stay the same, but you just optimize your resource utilization. Or you've got leveling, which is only usually conducted after smoothing can't optimize the resource any further, which causes the duration of the project to be extended. And when looking at this, we would usually switch off the split in task progress. So then that means that all your project tasks will be conducted in one go. So you can't do like 3/4 of one activity and then continue to do another quarter of your activity in a few weeks. In addition, you would switch off the new scheduled tasks have estimated durations that one day and show that scheduled tasks have estimated durations. So that is just how I personally set it up. That is not the only way to do it. You can switch them on if you would like. For example, the new scheduled tasks have estimated durations. That might just remind you, let's say, that you need to add an actual duration. But that does cause small issues on the totaling up. Because obviously, if you leave that switched on, you'll have question marks in your total duration for your whole project. So that's just something to consider. Does that come across all clear for you, Marina?
Yeah, it does. And I think
Others?
I think people, I think it's really important to talk about this behind the scenes so people know that they just can't automatically use Microsoft Project compared to some other more basic planning softwares.
No, yeah, and it's just enabling you to get the most out of the software.
Yeah.
Like I've said before, this is what I've used in previous experiences. This might not be the best practice for your project, so it might be worth just having a quick look around, making sure all these settings that you're looking through are the right for you.
Yeah.
Um,
When you
so yeah,
just quickly before we end the call, when you were at university, was this the only tool you were introduced to, or did you get introduced to any of these other software or were encouraged to start with Excel to begin with, something like that?
no. So yeah, we straight away introduced a Microsoft project as
Nice.
as best practice for planning software. So this was the only real planning software we were introduced with. We were also introduced to At Risk for more quantitative risk analysis, but that's obviously an add-in, but
Yeah.
primarily MSP.
Yeah. And then in the client site at that retail organization that you worked in, that you led the project online implementation, they were using a very vast amount of Excel sheets, weren't they? That was the whole point that they moved into Project Online to get something that was more advanced to handle what they needed to be done.
Yeah, that is basically the premise of half the project in terms of the migration from a very basic planning structure to a more capable planning structure. Oh, God, I don't know what happened
We
there. In which enabled them to be in more control of their projects, and then obviously hopefully enable the benefits of that control to be realised within the successful delivery of their projects. But we were never able to fully see the true benefits because we were never at the adoption phase of your project lifecycle in that extended period.
Yes. Perfect, Nathan.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say there's two little more things I would just like to quickly mention in this session, just so you're aware of it.
Yeah, perfect.
And the first one is the dual fixed cost accrual, default rather, sorry, start prorated end. So that's just explaining how the cost of an item of your fixed cost, which you're implementing into your task, is split across. So obviously prorated, it means if your task is 10 days, that cost will be broken across that 10 days evenly, the start, the end. So that's just something to consider. So if you've got a fixed cost, which is on day one of your project, for example, the purchasing of a digger, let's call it, everything would be on the very start of your task. But if it was something else, it might be paid for at the end. So it's just something to consider. In addition, obviously on the advanced tab is the calculate multiple critical paths. So the critical path is the longest but shortest duration path through your Microsoft project plan. And that will usually be represented by a red bar. So this represents activities which have 0 days slack or float, depending on the terminology you're going to be using. So usually you'll only have one critical path going through your project, whereas this button allows you to visualize every single critical path which you've got on your project. And this is obviously important because it enables you to consider the additional resources potentially which should be applied to your project on them specific activities to ensure that they are completed on time. This enables that your project to be completed by the perceived or the estimated duration, unless something else happens. And that is all I would like to say for this basic session. They are what I would describe as the key settings which you need to consider when setting it up.
Perfect, Nathan. Well, thank you so much for doing this for us. And then we will sure to be include you on more videos throughout the year if you have any more tips.
Brilliant. I
Thank
hope
you.
that was of any use.
Yes, hopefully it will be. I'm sure we'll find out. Thank you so much.